Alright, it says we're live, so if you guys can hear me, let me know. It seems like it's going to be popular today. We have like almost 100 people in here already. I haven't even started the stream yet, so it seems like everyone's excited. Let me just pop out the chat. Let me know if you can hear me, and then we'll say our hellos, little roll call here. But alright, what's up, dude? Okay, let me just say Paper's in here. What's up? What's up, Travis? What's up, Dustin? What's up, Jay? Conscious Machine's in here. He's always in here every single time, so I always appreciate him stopping by. What's up, Jake? Appreciate that. What's up, Chris? What's up, Travis? Are we just throwing out mad chalk today? Yeah, it's going to be a very chalky day. I would expect first place to probably be a huge split. Definitely going to be a lot of the same lineups out there today. Yeah, Chris says it's going to be a lot of pot chopping after this one. Yeah, it's going to be a very chalky race. What's up, Dennis? What's up, Mike? Hope you all survived Jones yesterday. Yeah, I had a lot of people say they did well even with having a lot of Jones. I played a lot of single entry and 3-entry maxes yesterday, which could really overcome it as much. But Dustin says it was a wild truck race. I don't really follow the truck series, but I heard there was a ton of cautions, and I heard a lot of the good drivers were wrecking out. So, yeah, yikes there. What's up, Duke? Good morning. Hey Wyatt, what is up? Thanks for all you do. So my thoughts are, since there are so many great PD plays, you basically have to play. I think I'm fading a Logano, maybe half lineups to get Harvick. Yeah, you could certainly do that. I think you can certainly play both of them together. I don't think it's like a decision you have to play one or the other. But if you want to be a little bit different, you could fade Joey on some lineups. You shouldn't go 100% on anybody. So yeah, there'll be some lineups I don't have some Joey. What's up, Andrew? Andrew says, well, you have a lot of lineups with no driver starting from the top 10. Yeah, I think most of my lineups probably won't have anyone starting in the top 10, to be honest. Really making this like place differential, not like a restrictor plate kind of race where we're stacking the scrubs. But, I mean, a lot of the good drivers starting in the back, and they'll be able to move up, even though this is a hard track to pass at. Dude says, I was under the field on Jones, so it didn't hurt as much as it could. Yeah, for sure. For sure. If you were underweight in the field on Jones, you probably did very well yesterday. All right, what's up, everybody? Just gonna skip down a little bit. What's up, Chris? If I don't see it and I don't respond to you, it's nothing personal, but it seems like there's a decent amount of people in here. What's up, Chris? What's up, Josh? Hello, everybody. So a couple of things I wanted to mention before you get into the thick of this live stream is that there's going to be quite a few cars dropping to the rear on pace laps, and I'm just looking at Bob Pograss's tweet right now, so I'm gonna just read off of it in case you guys didn't see it. So Ryan Preece, the pole sitter, he is going to be dropping to the rear, which I didn't like him at all starting first anyway. Now he's dropping to the rear. He's going to start out with negative like 30 points. Don't see a reason to play Ryan Preece today at all. I'm actually hoping people don't know he's dropping to the rear, and he might be like 3 to 5% owned, and those lineups should be pretty much dead from the start. So that'll be interesting to see his ownership. William Byron's dropping to the rear, starting 7th. I didn't like him either starting to the top 10. Now he's dropping to the rear. I know it's a good track for him, but that's a lot to overcome. A lot's going to have to go right for William Byron to be a good play for you. Now, this is where it gets interesting. A lot of the back cars will be going to the rear, which does not really affect what I think about them because they're already starting in the back, and they're mostly good cars. Chase Elliott transmission, he is going to drop to the rear. He was starting 25th. He'll be fine. There's no reason to be concerned about that. Alex Bowman, he's going to a backup car. He'll be fine. He was starting 27th. Tyler Reddick's starting 30th. He's going to a backup car because he killed Eric Jones. He's going to be fine, as will Joey Logano. He's starting 36th. Who cares? Eric Jones starting 38th. Who cares? He's going to the back. Then BJ McLeod and Quinn Houff are both going to the back, which they were starting 39th and 40th, so it really doesn't change anything anyway. So that's all the guys that are going to the back. The only really concerns that really kill anybody back there and that are dropping to the rear is Ryan Preece and William Byron, and I didn't even like them anyway, so that just kind of solidifies that fact. All right, so, and that means the front row will be Kurt Busch and Austin Dillon. Oh, Mike says I'm blurry. Am I? Let me just unplug the camera really quick, and then I'll plug it back in. Wyatt says smash the like button. I agree. The like button does help me out quite a bit. Rick says he just signed up on Patreon. I saw that, Rick. I really do appreciate it. You were my 300th member, which is awesome. Like, I really do appreciate everyone on there. Really, really do. So, thank you, Rick. Let's see. All right, let me go to the bottom of the chat, see what you guys are talking about. Again, if I happen to skip your message, you can type it again, and hopefully I will see it. But if I don't, nothing personal. Jeremy says Jones and Reddick for the win. Throw my money away. Yeah, we got to go back to the well. We can't have hard feelings in DFS. I know Eric Jones. Well, actually, before I answer some questions, let me just do a brief overview of this slate because that's what I usually do. And I like to keep things in order here. So, up top, I'm not going to spend very much time on this at all because I do want to answer mostly questions because it seems like we're getting a lot of in the chat today. So, kind of want to just talk to you guys, make this more interactive. And if you want my thoughts on the slate, it's on Patreon or just the video I posted yesterday. So, up top, I think the most popular play will be Kevin Harvick. He just won the race. He's starting 20th. A lot of PD upside. He was 4th in average green flag speed. And he just knows how to run well pretty much at every single track, including Pocono. He finally got his first win there. Finally got the monkey off his back. And look, the Fords, you need high horsepower at track like Pocono, and they certainly have not lacked that this season. 4 of the top 5 cars in average green flag speed this season are Fords. We're looking at Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, then Chase Elliott's actually number 1. But yeah, I think the highest owned there will be Kevin Harvick. And I said in my video, I wasn't sure how easy it's going to be to fit these guys, but it's actually not that hard after I started making lineups. So, I'm sorry, I was just reading the chat, but I forget what I was saying. But either way, yeah, Kevin Harvick, he should be an excellent play. He just won, so there's your recency bias. So no problems at all with Kevin Harvick. And then Chase Elliott, he should be pretty popular. He's starting 25th. He's got the most PD upside in this group here. Pocono, it's not going to look like his best track, but he's had incidents here, I think, twice now. He finished dead last the one race, and then obviously this race he just had transmission issues. Kind of killed his day, but overall, he's been a contender at Pocono. He should be able to gain 15 to 20 spots here if all goes well. So starting 25th, he should be a pretty good play. And then I think people are going to flock to Denny Hamlin. He almost won the race on Saturday, almost gave Kevin Harvick a run for his money at the end, but he was second in average green flag speed. He was actually faster than Kevin Harvick, according to green flag speed. And starting 19th, he's at a pretty solid price. I think he's going to be popular. He's been very good at Pocono, one of his best tracks in the series. He's very good at flat tracks. He makes a ton of sense. Then Kyle Busch, I think he's going to be lower owned of this group just because he's 11,000. And I know he didn't do great on Saturday, but he also didn't kill you at all. I mean, he was, I believe, in some of the winning single entry lineup, so he was certainly fine at that price tag. But the thing with Kyle Busch is, I think having like a big practice session, if that's what you want to call it, on Saturday is really going to help him because he's a kind of guy that likes to get the feel of the car. And after having a whole entire race under his belt, I think that's going to work wonders for Kyle Busch. So it would not surprise me if he ends up getting a win today, getting his first win of the season. We know how good of a track Pocono has been for him. I mean, the guy's got an average finish of 3.3 here. And yes, I did update the spreadsheet. The video last night, I did not have it updated. These are the updated numbers, including last race. And look, Kyle Busch has just been an absolute stud at Pocono. And just having a race under his belt here, we could use that as practice. I think that will help him out. And I think Kyle Busch was, I forget what it was in average green flag speed, but it wasn't too bad. And yeah, he certainly didn't kill your lineups yesterday. Now starting 16th, he's got that PD upside, and he's going to be one of the favorites to win this race. So yeah, Kyle Busch is fine, but I do think he's going to be the lowest owned of this group, not including Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney is starting 9th. I guess technically he'll gain a couple of spots because Preece and Byron are going to the rear. And really, he's got the best car up front there. I mean, Kurt Busch, I think, is most likely to lead the most laps early on just because he's got to beat Austin Dillon, which I think he certainly can. But Ryan Blaney, I mean, he's got a strong car. He was fast on Saturday, but just a couple of pit strategies did not really work well in his favor. Some of them were pretty questionable, but he had a fast car. So Ryan Blaney's your just tournament option there, but I don't really like him that much just because he doesn't offer us that much PD potential, and Dominator points really aren't that important at Pocono, so I'm kind of focusing on PD. So Ryan Blaney's kind of like the odd man out here. Much prefer the other 4 guys in this price range. Now, Martin Truex going to this 9K range, I think he's going to be a pretty popular play. His price didn't really rise much at all. He's starting 15th. You got your PD upside. I know I'm talking a little bit long here, so I'm going to try to shorten these up. But yeah, Truex is fine. And he kind of fits into the popular lineup today. I've had quite a few people send me the lineup they are playing, and I got to say, I've seen a lot of duplicates of this exact lineup. So I think Truex is actually going to end up being pretty popular today. Wouldn't surprise me if he's one of the highest owned top dogs in this slate. Offers you the PD potential and race winning upside. He's been very good at Pocono. And again, I think these JGR cars are going to benefit from having a very long practice session. Mike says he can't read the sheet. Is it blurry for you guys? Hope not. But anyway, if it is, let me know, because I don't want it to be blurry for you guys. But all right, sorry. Reading the chat gets me distracted, but let me just try to go through this pretty quickly because there's a lot of questions in the chat. I do want to talk to you guys. So in this range, Joey Logano, he is the uber chalk, and I think Martin Truex Jr. is not going to be. He's going to be pretty far behind him, but he's going to be the second highest owned guy. And then Brad Keselowski's your tournament option. I don't think really anyone's going to believe. Okay, you guys can see it? Okay, it might be Mike then. It might be Mike. Ned says it's always blurry. I don't know. It's not blurry for me, and I guess it's pretty good for everyone else. So, okay. But going to this 8K range, Alex Bowman's going to be the chalk here. There's no getting around that. But Kurt Busch, he's your tournament option. He's 8,300, and if he could hold the lead for a while, I think the first stage is 30 laps, no competition caution. So if he leads the first 30 laps and hangs around the top 5, top 8 all day, he might be a pretty decent tournament option, but he does not offer you that PD upside, so he is risky. And look, I'd much rather play Alex Bowman, but that's not to say you can't play both of them in the same lineup. And Christopher Bell, I'm not sure how many people are going to play him. He's not starting 36th this time, but his price did get dropped about $2,000. He's starting 17th. He hit the absolute ceiling. I said on the live stream, I think my exact quote, not the live stream, but it might have been the live stream. I said my exact quote is, if Christopher Bell gets the top 5, I will just straight up eat the L. I just don't see it happening. Well, he gets 4th place, hits his absolute ceiling. I think that's the best he could have possibly done. He finished right behind Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. Might have had that a little bit messed up, but yeah, Christopher Bell, he absolutely crushed. Or who finished? No, Kyle Busch didn't finish 4th. Oh, Eric Almirola. I'm sorry. But yeah, Christopher Bell is outstanding. He absolutely crushed. Starting 17th. I don't think he's going to get another top 5. I could be wrong. He should contend for a top 15, maybe even a top 10, but there's better PD plays on this slate in my opinion. So Christopher Bell is a guy you can play a little bit of today, but not someone that's going to be a core play for me. I think Alex Bowman is just a tremendous play in this 8K range. And then going down the 7K tier, RRV's chalk is going to be Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, and Eric Almirola. Those are going to be three of the most popular plays in the entire slate, I think. Eric Jones, for one, is going to be, 60-some% owned in the big tournaments. He was 91% owned in cash games. I think he was 80+% owned in single entry tournaments, and that was when he was starting 19th. Now he's starting 38th. It would not surprise me if he's above 75% owned in the big tournament. He's just such a good play. And I know he absolutely crushed you guys. You guys are probably talking about him in the chat right now. He screwed a lot of lineups yesterday, but the thing is, we can't let our emotions get to us in DFS. We got to look past it. Yes, you can't control someone getting wrecked into. Yes, it happens in NASCAR, and that's why we never go 100% on a guy, but he just has the worst luck in the world. Someone tweeted me, they said Eric Jones wouldn't have luck even if he didn't have bad, I don't know, something like that. But the guy is one of the most unlucky drivers in the world. But at Pocono, he has been tremendous. He's consistently in the top 5 here. The past 7 races here, he does have 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s, I believe. He's just been excellent at Pocono. He should contend for a top 10 in this race if all goes well. He was running very well on Saturday too, but then after he had a pit, he was just running in the mid to late pack after things were cycling through. Had to slow down for a slow car. Tyler Reddick pretty much ran him over, crushed his day. But starting 38th, the worst he can do is 2 points, something like that. So Eric Jones, he's going to be very popular, but I just don't see how you don't play him. He's going to be very high owned. Tyler Reddick, he's starting 30th. Excellent source of PD here. The 2 guys that kind of crushed us yesterday are going to be nearly all in on, so that's just how it goes in DFS sometimes. But Tyler Reddick's an excellent play. And then Eric Almirola, he held the lead. I was very surprised. I did not see that happening. I thought Ryan Blaney would get around him, but look, Almirola's in good equipment, and he absolutely crushed it. He was first in average green flag speed on Saturday. Don't see why his car would get much slower. Now he's not going to have the benefit of clean air at the beginning of the race, but he should be fine here. Starting 18th, he should contend for a top 12, and at 7,200, he's just priced a little bit too low. He's got 4 top 15s here, 2 top 10s, has a top 5, which he just got yesterday. So Eric Almirola, he should be pretty popular, pretty easy to fit in your lineups. Then after that, it kind of gets gross pretty quick. I guess my favorite option would be John Hunter Nemechek starting 24th because he's one of the only guys that offers you PD upside. But outside of that, there's just really no one down here in that 6K to mid 5K range. But there is one punt I like, and that's going to be Quinn Houff. He is 5,100 starting 40th. The worst he can do is 4 points today, and he's usually a 32nd to a 35th place car. So if he can just gain 5 to 8 spots, that's not going to hurt us, and he's going to allow us to fit in guys like Harvick, Hamlin, Kyle Busch, whoever you like. So Quinn Houff, I actually think he's going to have some decent ownership. Would not surprise me if he's 10 to 20% owned today, just because starting 40th, there's not many good value options, and unless he wrecks first, he should be a decent play, and the worst he can do is 4 points. So that Quinhalf, I think, should be okay. But that's just a very quick brief of this slate. So I'm going to answer some questions now. And let's see. So if you have any questions, please let me know, which I'm sure you guys do. And I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Okay, Casey says, do you like any Kurt or Austin Dillon as early dominators and hopefully good finishes? So I don't like Austin Dillon. He's probably going to be anywhere from 10th to 18th this race. But Kurt Busch, he could lead the early laps, and he'd be my favorite to lead early laps. And if he can contend for a top 8, I think he'll be okay. It's just he's a little bit riskier because he doesn't have that PD upside, and there's just so many other drivers that are good spots for PD, which are much safer. So Kurt Busch, he's a guy you could probably throw 5 to 15% ownership on just because he has the potential to lead 30 laps early on. All right, let's see. Matt says, who wins today in your opinion? I don't know. I think a JGR car can get it today. I mean, Kyle Busch, I feel like this just sets up really well for him to get his first win. He's going to have that car dialed in. He's a guy that excels with practice. He finally got his first, I guess he finally got his first practice session in a while. So it would not surprise me if Kyle Busch gets his first win of the season. Sincere says, should we really be concerned about the backup cars for Jones and Reddick? I would not be concerned. They'll be just fine. They're in good equipment. Tony says, news just 2 hours ago about drivers changing cars and starting in different places. I don't know if this news is before your sheet effects. Well, I just talked about that, so I'm sure I probably already answered you, but I have really no concerns with the drivers in the back that are going to the back because it's pretty much where they are, and the good cars will rise to the top. My voice just cracked. Mad Dog says, very skeptical on playing more of Jones today like yesterday. Well, the difference today is Jones was starting 19th yesterday, and now he's starting 38th, so there's really no downside. Even if he wrecks, he's not going to go negative, I don't think. It'd be pretty close, but we can't really project wrecks. If he wrecks, yeah, it's going to suck, but that's why you don't go 100% on a guy. Like, I think the max you should go with Jones is probably 85% today. Ned Star says, Bell or Matt? I assume you mean Matt Kenseth or MDB? If it's between Bell or MDB, I will go with Christopher Bell. Let's see. Conscious says, yeah, I do appreciate that. I wonder how many people are in here. Let me see. Oh, about 300 people, so popular than yesterday. I don't know. I wonder if people didn't even know that there was a race yesterday from the beginning. All right, Mad Dog says, do you believe McDowell will continue to hold its own today? Got him on a couple of my lineups. So McDowell is starting, 12th? No, he's starting 13th. I actually think McDowell could contend for a top 15, but I think he's going to finish anywhere from more than likely 15th to 23rd, somewhere around that range. So he's going to lose some PD, but the price isn't too bad. It's just he's going to have another really solid race. But the thing is, Michael McDowell has been running really well so far this season. And he actually has an average finish at this track of 18. So if he can only lose a couple of spots and contend for a top 15, that's really not that bad at that price tag. So I don't think McDowell's the worst play in the world. And if you're looking at his numbers this season, he's got an average finish inside the top 20, averaging about 30 DraftKings points per race. So McDowell's fine. It's just he's pretty risky starting 13th. When he's starting in the 20s and even the 30s, he's one of the best plays on the slate at these price tags. But starting 13th, it's a little iffy there. Mike says, I'm a firm believer if you should have played someone and you did and it goes wrong, oh well, keep making the right move even when it doesn't pay and you will end up better off in the end. Yeah, I agree. Just because Jones screwed you yesterday doesn't mean you should fade him today. It's a new day. It's a new slate. Jones was a good play yesterday. You just can't know if someone's going to get wrecked. I mean, that's the risk you have with NASCAR. Someone just can turn into you and ruin your day. It happens, but you just got to stay the course. Eric Jones is a tremendous play today. Even if Eric Jones wrecks and gets 40th today, he was a good play on paper. Everything makes sense. It's just NASCAR is a very variant sport. But that's why you don't go 100% on people in NASCAR, because stuff like that can't happen. But in basketball, unless someone breaks their leg early on. But again, you can't account for those things. All right, Jeff says odd. Whoops. All right, hold on. Chat went all the way down. Casey says John Hunter. Yeah, I think John Hunter Nemechek is the best play in that 6K range just because no one else is going to give you PD. Daniel Suarez is probably going to finish around 28th. Cole Custer starting 5th. He's going to move back. Buescher starting 11th. Buescher could contend for a top 15, but more than likely he's going to lose you spots. Ryan Newman starting 6th. He's got like a 15th place car. John Hunter Nemechek, the thing is, there's a good chance he probably finishes right around here, but he's a guy that could contend for a top 20. I mean, so far this season, he's racked up a couple. He's got 5 top 20s, 3 top 15s, 1 top 10 so far, so he's actually ran pretty well. So John Hunter Nemechek, I mean, he's really the best play in that price range just for safety. Then Austin Dillon starting 2nd. We know he's going to move back. Mr. Miyagi says, how if he will go down 9 laps quickly? Pretty hard to do that at Pocono. I think he'll be just fine. He's usually like a 32nd to 35th place car. He's not the worst in the field. All right, Tony says, with place diff being the most important, should we build our lineups around Logano, Jones, Reddick, and Bowman? Seems like the best way to get PD points. Yeah, that's 100% what you should do. That's pretty much what everyone's going to do. So there's going to be a lot of chalk on this slate. Let's see. OS says, thoughts on fading Hamlin and going with Truex? You could play both, but if you want to fade Hamlin for Truex, I don't mind that. I think they're both good plays. I'm going to have ownership to both of them pretty similarly. But Hamlin is starting 19th. He was very fast yesterday, so I prefer Hamlin, but you also get a little bit of a price drop on Truex, but both are really good plays. Max said, Truex, Almirola, or Hamlin, John Hunter Nemechek, and Cash. I would go Truex, Almirola, just because I trust Almirola more than I trust John Hunter Nemechek, and I trust Truex and Hamlin about the same, so I would go with the Almirola side there. Steven says, my question of the day is Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick. So just from a point standpoint, point of view, I think Harvick scores more points, but it's always hard to win back-to-back races, so I don't know if I'd bank on that, but you get more PD. So in general, I would say Harvick, but I do think Kyle Busch is a pretty strong pivot in tournaments because I think he's going to have less ownership just because he's a little bit more expensive and he didn't do as well as Kevin Harvick, so you have that recency bias as well. Casey says, who's the top 5 most ownership in GPPs today? I would say Eric Jones, Joey Logano, Bowman, Reddick, that's 4. And then either probably like a Harvick or Almirola, unless I missed someone off the top of my head. Dude says, thoughts on Nemechek today, starting 24th and very cheap. You probably asked that before I talked about Nemechek, but he's my favorite play in that 6K range just because he's the only guy that I think's the most likely to gain spots down there. Sarah says, McDowell been doing very well. Thoughts? Probably already answered that too, but McDowell, look, he's probably going to contend for a top 15, top 20. He's more than likely going to lose you spots, but at that price tag, you can afford to lose a couple of spots because you really don't need that much at a 5,500. So just know you're going in with McDowell, you're probably going to lose spots, but he's got the potential to hang in the top 15, which is only a couple of spots lost. Ivan says, what do you think about Matt DiBenedetto? He is starting 8th, I believe. Yeah, MDB is starting 8th. It's going to be really tough for him. I much prefer Tyler Reddick and Eric Jones and Almirola in that price range, so MDB is not really someone I have much interest in. Yeah, he's got good equipment, he's in a good car, and he could be in the top 5 early on, but it's going to be tough for him to outscore a lot of these PD plays. Conch says, play Kyle. Chris said, yeah, I think Kyle's a good play today. Not like my favorite play in the slate considering his price tag, and there's not many good cheap options to pair with him, but definitely someone I have some interest in. Mr. Miyagi says, McDowell's starting 13th. That is really high for McDowell. The price is fine. He's going to lose spots more than likely, but it won't kill you at that price tag. Yeah, McDowell's been steady for me lately, Sarah, but I don't know if I can play him. Yeah, he's in a really rough spot today. David says, Almirola, Blaney, Kurt Busch, Jones, Logano, Reddick for the win. Very GBP there with Blaney and Kurt Busch, but, I mean, that's actually a pretty solid tournament option. If you think Blaney and Kurt Busch can get a lot of the Dominator points early and they can contend for a top 5 at the end of the day, should be pretty good, and you mix that with some PD plays, so I don't mind that in tournaments. Jack says, I can see motor trouble for some of the cheaper teams going back to the back like this. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, I really don't have much interest in any of those guys beside Quinn Houff. Conscious says, a lot of 7,000 values. Should we drop to 1 Dominator in some cases? I'm not really even focusing on dominators today, unless you mean just the guys that are 10K and up. I mean, I'm just mostly focused on place differential today. I mean, the guy I think is most likely to lead laps early is Kurt Busch, but I don't think he's very likely to outscore some of these PD guys. Landon says, hey, Chris, my driver's starting at the rear. Yep. I think Chase Elliott should be fine, though. It might take him a little bit to get up front, but I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get up front lead laps, but he should contend for a top 10 today. About 15, 20 spots gained. Adam says, GPP is better to take Custer, McDowell, or Busher, or him to hope they hold it combined with high-priced PD guys, or high-priced PD guys combined with the cheap lawnmower guys. I mean, in tournaments, I guess taking a shot at McDowell or Busher's fine because they have legit top 15 potential, and a guy like Half, like the lawnmower guys, are really like, if they get a top 35 out of Quinn Half, you're usually dancing in the streets because you're happy. So I guess in tournaments it would make sense to maybe take a shot at them, and I guess I'd prefer Busher, but I'm not excited about either. I think the safest option would probably be Half. I actually think Half's going to have some decent ownership today. I'm not saying I really like Half today, but you're forced to play some of these scrubs in the back, and I do think he's actually going to have some decent ownership. Paul says, are you down on the 12th today? I noticed you skipped him on the review last night. Yeah, I did that on accident. I felt like after I did the video, I forgot to talk about someone, and then you guys were telling me in the comments. But I didn't do that on purpose. It's just, he's starting 9th, and there's just so many good PD plays in that price range, so and I'm mostly focused on PD. We only have 105 dominator points today, so it's not going to be that important. If this was a race like, we have a bunch of laps, yeah, Ryan Blaney would be a good play, but PD is more important today, in my opinion. I do think he could lead some laps early on, though. I mean, he's got the best car up there. Tony says, voice crack, it's okay. Going through puberty is normal. Yep, it happens. Brian says, Harvick or Truex. So, if you just had to pick one and price wasn't an issue, I would say Kevin Harvick. But it's about $1,000 difference, so it's probably going to come down to a 2v2. But just for points, I would say Harvick. FE says, changing cars means fresh cars. Darn right. Thank you, Conscious. I appreciate that. Joe says, MDB Ford has had a great day, but he's starting too high. Totally agree. That's pretty much my exact thoughts. Pecan Pie says, are you just biting the chalk for single entry GPP with Logano, Reddick, Jones, Bowman? Yeah, my lineup for just, like I'm in the Gurney, the 121 single, I'm expecting to tie with pretty much the entire field because I think my drivers I picked are going to be the highest, like the 6 highest owned drivers, for being honest, or at least close to it. So I'm expecting to tie, but it's just my favorite plays. So we'll see. I'm hoping not everybody has it, but it should be pretty popular today. I am eating the chalk. But there's a couple of pivots you can make in 150 maxes, which I am playing, so I'm going to try to find some leverage somewhere, and I haven't exactly decided where that leverage is going to be yet, but I got some guys in mind. Dave says, hey Chris, do you suggest playing Harvick, Truex, Bowman, Reddick, Eric Jones, and Michael McDowell for 11K GPPs? Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I might probably end up with that lineup like that on one of my 150s. SSG Trom says, stack the back would work here. For example, Elliott, Busch, Bowman, Jones, Reddick. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. No problem at all with that. Kidbreak says McDowell or Newman. That's a good question. I guess I'll go McDowell there, but I'm not excited about both. But you save a little bit of dough with McDowell, so hopefully you can upgrade someone else. I'll go McDowell there. Oh, chat went all the way down. Second. Oh, man. Okay. Cameron says, thoughts on Harvick, Busch, Jones, Reddick, Almirola, and Nemechek. Is that Kurt Busch or Kyle Busch? If that's Kyle Busch, that's an insane lineup, but I don't think that's going to work salary-wise. Oh, actually it might because you don't have Joey. Yeah, that's a fine lineup. No problem at all with that. It's pretty good. And I think you're getting a little bit tournament-y there because you don't have like a Joey or Bowman who are going to be very high owned, and Busch is a decent pivot there, so I don't mind that. Ned Star says price is great for McDowell. Yeah, the price is great. It's just the starting spot's a little rough. We usually get him in the 20s to 30s. Not the case today, but he's just been running really well. Kyle says, all these people and you can't like the video, only 20 likes. Do we only have 20 likes? Oh, no, we're at 100. Maybe your thing didn't update. But yeah, 100 likes. Appreciate that, guys. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, where we at? Cameron says, as I tweeted you yesterday, Jones would have luck if it wasn't bad. Yeah, you were the one that tweeted me that, yeah. Eric Jones, the most unlucky driver ever, I swear. Him and Ryan Blaney, but Blaney's luck has changed lately, so. Mr. Mike's daddy says, I didn't hear you before. Johnson, a total fade today. Not a total fade for me. He's starting 21st. This has not been a great track for him. But starting 21st, 9,200 is not that bad. He's a guy you can sprinkle in, not someone like, he's like a 5 to 15% kind of guy today. Mike says, wow, 20 minutes in and no talk of rain. Can this be true? I don't think it's supposed to rain today. I think it said 40% chance at 3 or something like that. Then the rest of the day looks sunny, so can only hope for the best. Mr. Miyagi says, Nemechek has to beat me. To beat you. Ivan says, what do you think Jones' ceiling is for today? Well, I'd have to look at my heat map to know exactly where the numbers would be. I don't know exactly how it shakes out, but if he gets a top 5, I mean, it could be close to 80 points. Not saying it's the most likely scenario, but Jones has a very high ceiling today. This is a great track for him, starting in the back. I mean, if all goes well, gets good pit strategy, I mean, he could absolutely crush. Wyatt says, who do you like better, Logano or Bowman? I'll go Joey there. He's starting about 9 spots further back, so just get more PD there. Ryan says, hey, Chris, who do you like for your dominators? A lot of the top guys starting in the mid or back. Yeah, dominators, really not focusing on dominators today. I mean, look, Harvick can dominate the race. All these guys can dominate the race, but I'm mostly just focusing on PD because these guys got PD upside and dominator potential. Guys I think are most likely to lead laps early on, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, but not really too excited about them. Let's see. Meek says, do you like lineups taking one expensive guy and filling in some high ceiling low guys, or making the well-rounded middle price guys? I feel like I'm leaning towards these balanced lineups because there's a lot of good mid-range to lower-end, high-end guys like Truex, Logano. They're 9K. It's not going to break the bank. But then you got Bowman, Reddick, Jones, Almirola. They're all pretty cheap. So I think balance is a pretty strong way to go, but I will have lineups that are top-heavy that have some back-marker cars just because of the way the slate shapes up. Mike says, if Jones can finish top 10, he's going to crush. Yeah, and that's something he has done pretty much every time he's been to Pocono. So, I mean, there's a good chance he crushes. And then there's always a small chance he gets wrecked into. Trey says, hello, bro. What's up, Trey? Trey was my 8th subscriber, so a little shout out to Trey. He's been here forever. Casey says, good take. I don't even remember what I said, but I'll believe you. Thank you. Netstar says, Ricky Bobby starting 40th. I watched that movie recently for the Talladega race. Had to get me in the mood for Dega. Tim says, what's up, man? What's up, Tim? I made decent profits on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Super Draft yesterday, so thanks. You're welcome. Good job making lineups. I'm liking McDowell today. I guess a lot of people like McDowell. The problem with McDowell is he's just starting so far up, but I like him in general just because he's been crushing for us, but I worry about the starting spot. Mad Dog says, I have a good feeling that Almirola will have a strong showing today. Yeah, I did not think he was going to dominate last race. He did, and he was first in average green flag speed. He's in good equipment. The Fords have high horsepower. We know that. And I almost said something else. And, I mean, he was really fast yesterday. I don't see why that's going to disappear. So I think he should contend for a top 10, top 12, and at 7,200, it's going to be pretty good starting 18th. No Sleep says Elliott GPP. Yeah, Elliott's a good GPP option. Don't think he'll have the ownership that Kevin Harvick will or Denny Hamlin. But starting 25th, he's got the most PD upside down there, so. Or I should say up there. So I don't mind Elliott in GPPs. Pretty much everyone up there is a good play. Austin says, sorry, I probably missed it. You talking about this? How did the backup cars affect those chalk guys in the back? All good. I did talk about that, but doesn't really bother me. They're in good equipment. They'll live. They will live. Greg says, do you think McLeod's odds dropped on FanDuel to win this race? Yeah, Greg, I don't know if you guys were in the live stream yesterday, but Greg said Buescher and McLeod on FanDuel Sportsbook had the same odds to win the race, which was just laughable because BJ McLeod's not ever going to win a race. So, yeah, that was crazy. Hopefully not today, though. I mean, hopefully it did drop. That's what I meant. Chris says, this is a perfect slate for when everybody zigs, you zag, and hope for some craziness and take all the monies. Yeah, look, if you want to just single-handedly take down a tournament and not split with 700 other people, which is most likely going to happen, you're going to have to make some pivots, which you're going to have to make some bold moves. Like if you want to get different off of Logano, you could play Keselowski or you could play Johnson. But, I mean, they're not as good plays, but again, things can happen where, say, Logano gets a flat tire again and he finishes 25th. He's not going to be enough, so there's pivots you can make if you want to get different. I mean, it's not the most likely scenario that it works out, but there's always that small chance, and that could be the difference of winning a tournament. And that's why you do not go 100% on anybody. Like, Eric Jones, by far the best play, you still don't play 100% of them. Josh is going to use Logano and Truex as pivots too, but do you think Keselowski is a good pivot off of guys like Busch, Harvick, Hamlin, etc. for cash games? In cash games, don't pivot. You don't want to be the smartest guy in the room in cash games. Just play the obvious plays. In tournaments, I think Keselowski is a good pivot just because I don't think anyone's playing Keselowski. I mean, everyone's going to play Truex and Logano. Who's playing Keselowski starting 12th? He didn't have the best race in the world on Saturday, so he's a fine tournament option. He has been very good at Pocono, so 4 top 5s the past 7 races there, so I don't hate it, and he's top 5 in average green flag speed this season too. Jeff says, can you talk about difference in strategy between cash and tournaments? So I actually kind of just hit that. I know you asked that before I even said that, but cash, don't try to be the smartest guy in the room. Just play the obvious plays. Because look, Jones, he was an obvious play yesterday. He wrecked, but he was 91% on cash games. It didn't matter if he finished 40th or first. I mean, it didn't really matter. You just had to have your other guys play well. So not play well, drive well. So just don't be the smartest guy in the room in cash games. Just play the obvious plays. Go for the high floor. That's why you're going to do PD plays. Like, don't try to get cute and play Kurt Busch in cash hoping he dominates the race and wins, because it's not going to be needed. He's going to be very low in cash games. But in tournaments, you could take a stab at that, hope he dominates, finishes top 5, and you'll be looking pretty good because he shouldn't have that much ownership, if that makes any sense. Not saying Kurt Busch is my favorite GPP play today, but he's in play for GPPs. Ryan says, I need 2 out of the 3, Reddick, Jones, or Almirola. I'll go Reddick and Jones just because they have the more PD upside, but I like all 3. Chris says, seeing Jones 68% projected. Yeah, on Fantasy Cruncher, he's like at 70-something% projected. He's going to be very high owned today, guys. Casey says, surprised you're not in Suarez today. Should have okay, PD. I don't know if you're joking because I always bash Suarez every slate, but if you're looking at Suarez's numbers, just on the sheet. So if you see him average running position of 15.1, average finish 15.5, you'd think one of these plays on the slate. But he's in much different equipment now. He's not in Stewart-Haas equipment anymore. He's not in the 19 car anymore. He is in the 96 car. It is very slow, and he's basically like a 28th to 30th place car pretty much every single race. That's a track that requires a decent amount of horsepower instead of like tracks like Bristol or super speedways. So he's probably going to finish right around where he starts. Shouldn't be that good of a PD play. Dr. Fake says, is Stenhouse Jr. a play or a fade? He is starting 4th, right? Which I guess would move up a little bit because of the priest dropping back, but he's a fade for me. I didn't like him at 7,900 starting 14, so at 8,100 starting 4th, not really. Dave says it's going to be a fuel mileage today. Yeah, at Pocono, I mean, there's a bunch of different strategies there. It kind of gets fun somewhat at the end sometimes, but it's just such a boring race. But yeah, could be fuel mileage today for sure. Trent says single entry, or no, so Nemechek or over Buescher. Yes, I would go Nemechek over Buescher. Jack Johnson says, anyone in the history of NASCAR ever won in a back-to-back race in 2 days straight? I don't know. Has anybody? I mean, they might have, but it could happen with Harvick. Would not surprise me, but I don't know. Landon says, pit strategy will be important like yesterday for sure. I mean, pit strategy was huge yesterday. Like, I know Almirola had to take 4 tires, but that killed him there. I mean, guys that took 2 tires, and it seems like the guys that stayed out, I mean, they were set up really well yesterday. So it's pretty much all about pit strategy. I mean, one stupid pit strategy can kind of kill your day. And we kind of saw that with Blaney just a little bit. Javian, if I'm saying your name right, Javian says, did you take down GPP yesterday, Chris, for NASCAR? I did not, but I actually had a couple of people in Discord do it. They had, that's why you hedge a little bit. You don't play every single lineup with Jones. I unfortunately had a little bit too much Austin Dillon. I like as a tournament option. Did not work out that great, but I was happy some people in Discord were able to take down some tournaments, so that was nice. But I certainly did not. Wasn't that bueno for me yesterday. King says Bowman or Reddick for GPP. Bowman. I'll go Bowman just because I think he's more likely to finish in the top 10 than Reddick is. And he was running pretty well on Saturday too. Shane says Harvick, Truex, McDowell, or Truex, Bowman, Reddick. I'll go with the second option there for sure. And you're welcome. Boldy says, is Half okay when you have stacked other 5 drivers, Hamlin, Harvick, Logano, Almirola, Eric Jones? Yeah, for sure. That's totally fine. Tony says, how do you differentiate your lineup today with so few good cheap plays and so many obvious chalk plays? It seems You can only pivot on top guys. That's pretty much the only way you can pivot. I mean, I do think there's going to be a lot of ties today, guys, which does kind of suck, but sometimes you just got to eat it. It's better to tie for first and finish out of the money. I mean, you got to change it a little bit, but there's just not very many good pivots down low. I mean, you can take a shot at a guy like Busher, take a shot at a guy like Newman or McDowell, but I mean, they're not that great plays, if we're being honest. Conscious is I gotta stop saying dominator. I mean, I know, I understand. I mean, you always want to call them dominators, but it's kind of not the way it works this week. But yeah, expensive. Boldy says I may have taken on GPP if Jones didn't wreck yesterday. Yeah, I was actually in first place for a while, and when the pit cycling happened, I mean, it bumped me down, but I was doing really well until Jones wrecked, very, very well. And then Byron pit like 20 times. So I don't know what happened there, but he just kept pitting, which kind of sucked. Conscious says we like Chris as our secret, but his channel deserves it. Appreciate that. We're getting close to 5K subs, which is pretty cool. Over 300 people in here right now. Appreciate it. And about 150 likes. Awesome. Thank you guys. Let me know if my camera just went blurry, because whenever I look off screen, it tends to do that sometimes. Y says I'm going to throw in a little bit of Boyer. I don't hate that. He is starting 14th. He's probably got a top 10 car. I mean, he did it last race on Saturday. He's fine. I don't think he's going to be that high owned, so that could be one of the pivots you guys are looking for today, Clint Boyer. Casey says, how do I build a solid GPP lineup without Jones, Reddick, and Bowman? Is it even possible? It's very hard. I mean, I'm going to be very high on them. Everyone's asking the same questions about that. I mean, it's hard to get away from these guys. This is going to be one of the chalkiest slates I can remember. Let me just make sure I'm not blurry. All right, we're not. Chris has thoughts on McDowell. A lot of people have a lot of questions about McDowell today, which is fine. The thing with McDowell is he's fine. He could contend for a top 15, more likely top 20, but starting 13th, you're most likely going to lose PD spots, but at 5,500, you can get away with that a little bit, and it's not terrible. I do think he's a bit risky today. DJ says Half in cash games. Probably wouldn't do that in cash games. I mean, it's not the worst idea in the world if you're going to stack up the front, but I can't feel comfortable with Half in a cash game. I just can't do it. WW Fresh says, do we really think McDowell finishes above his starting position today, dude, with all these good drivers behind him? I don't, personally. I think he's going to lose a few spots, but at 5,500, you can kind of get away with that, but I'm really not that high on McDowell today at all. Ivan says, whoops, went all the way down. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of questions here. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Ivan says Truex or Chase Elliott. Could you give me a 2v2 with that? Because there's a little bit of a price difference there. I mean, 9,800 to 10,400. I mean, Chase Elliott's probably going to score more points because he's starting 25th, but maybe a 2v2 would be a better question there. WW Fresh says, I think McDowell's a hard fade today. If he's going to have high ownership, I do agree with you. That would be a good fade because there's a very good chance he can lose spots. And I mean, I really don't think he's going to get a top 10 again. I mean, he's been running very well recently, but I mean, he's going to lose spots more than likely unless he has another really strong race. But if he's going to be high owned, I like being underweight on that for sure. I do agree with you. Kibre says, who you like more, Keselowski, Blaney, Elliott for GBPs? I'll go with Elliott. He's the safest play there. Chris Sweeney says, decent point there regarding drivers behind him. I mean, the price is nice with McDowell. It's just, there's not good cheap options today, which sucks. So, I mean, you might be forced to throw him in a few, but it's not pretty down there for sure. Cody says, I got 1,600 left on the table, too much. That might be a bit too much. I don't think really any of my lineups at all have that much left. Would you mind telling me it? Unless you don't want to put it in public, but it seems like a bit too much. Next source says Jeff Gordon starting 40. I actually do like Jeff Gordon in the booth, though. It's really nice, I think. CLS says Hamlin or Logano, who's better? I mean, if you just mean better play, it's Logano. I mean, I think Hamlin finishes higher than Joey, but the safest play there is Joey starting 36. DJ says Half over Poole in cash games. If you had to pick between those two, yes, but I really wouldn't recommend playing Half in cash too much. Ninja says Fave low-owned GBP play today. Phew. Low-owned GBP play today. Maybe Keselowski or Blaney. Maybe. I'm not really that excited about them. I mean, Kurt Busch might get some dominator points early, but I'm not really like in love with these guys. But I guess maybe a Keselowski or Blaney's not too bad. They got race winning upside. They've been fast all season. The Fords have been really strong. I mean, I could see them making some noise in tournaments. FE says, hit the likes. Appreciate that. Maybe we can get the 200 likes on this live stream. That'd be cool. Justin says, I got a lot of Kyle Busch and Quinn Houff. Yeah, I think they're going to be decent plays today. Well, Kyle Busch is better than a decent play today, but Quinn Houff should be decent. Travis says, thoughts on Almirola? I do like Almirola. The price is nice. He's starting 18th. I mean, he should contend for a top 10 today. He was very fast yesterday. Let's see. McLeod or Huff? Or Houff. I always want to call him Huff. I'll go with Houff there. I know you love McLeod, but no McLeod for you. No more McLeod. You could sprinkle in McLeod today, maybe, but I'd rather play Houff. Cameron says, I have one James Davison. Don't know how I feel about that. I didn't do too bad. I mean, he's never raced in the Cup Series before and didn't even have practice. He finished 34th, so honestly, it wasn't too bad. 5,200. I mean, he might even do even better with the practice he had yesterday, so he's not the worst player in the world. You could sprinkle him in. Let's see. Do you know what the fuel window will be? What was it yesterday? Like 37, 45 laps, something like that? Be the same today. Kibre says, who you like more, Keselowski? Oh, I already got you. Probably just asked it twice if I didn't see it, but I would go Elliott there. Matt says, want to double your likes, subscribers, and Patreon? Looking to if that happens, I'll be very happy. that'd be very nice. Easier said than done though. But someone says, oh, okay, you mean looking to FanDuel as well? Yeah, it's maybe one day I'll get into FanDuel. It's just I really like Draftkings, so it'd be really hard to do two slates. But I might maybe next year, maybe if there's enough. What's the word I'm looking for? Want for it, I guess. Conscious says, dominators equal lap led heavy race leaders. I'm learning. Yes. FE says, Xfinity about to start, laying the rubber down on the track for the big show later. Yeah. Is anyone playing Xfinity? I'm not. I just don't play Xfinity or Truck Series. Plus, if I was doing Xfinity Truck Series with all the races we had this weekend, I'd be dead. Cameron says the lineup was Harvick, Kyle Busch, Jones, Reddick, Almirola, and Nemechek, not Kurt. Problems you have when you have a brother in the Cup Series. Yeah, and they both start with a K as well. So, but yeah, it's a really good lineup. I like that. AJ says, what's up, man? Hopefully we'll all take down some loot today. I would have no problems taking down some loot today, AJ. I agree with you. Conscious says, I've changed my name, but I've subbed for years. Oh, did you? What was your name beforehand? I might recognize it, but I've seen you on here forever, so do you remember you? Jennifer says, great video. I watch all your NFL videos. Haven't even thought about NFL in a while, so thank you for watching them, Jennifer. I do appreciate that. Let's see. Jay says, what's up, bro? What's up, Jay? How does Harvick, Truex, Bowman, Reddick, Eric Jones, and McDowell, I think you mean McDowell, for my lineup, first time betting with NASCAR? I like it. McDowell is risky today, though. I know his numbers look great recently if you're just looking at the driver log. The problem is he's starting a lot higher than he usually does. He's very risky today. He's most likely going to lose spots. But if he stays inside the top 15, he'll be fine at that price tag. But just know he's a bit risky. Jay says, Jones and Reddick, a lock. I mean, they're very good plays today. I'm not going 100% on anybody, but they're going to be some of my highest owned drivers for sure. Let's see. Where are we going? My chat went all the way down. Hold on, I got to go back up. All right, sorry if I missed anything, but it always screws me up when it goes all the way down once it refreshes. Do I like Bowman today? Yes, I like Bowman. He's one of the best plays. SSG says, most of my lineups are, well, rather chalk, but I did make a Kurt Busch, Keselowski, Byron, Bowman, Reddick, Jones lineup. Yay or nay? So I'm not a big fan of Byron today, especially dropping to the back, but it's a very good track for him. He could work his way back up, and I don't think he's probably going to be 0 to 5% owned on DraftKings, so I just don't. It's okay, but it's going to be a tough race for him to make the optimal today. I will say that. Conscious says race starts at 4:20. Yeah, I'm sure people are excited about that. Andrew says Harvick or Hamlin. I think Harvick scores more points, but you save a little bit of salary on Hamlin, so I don't know if maybe you can upgrade someone else if you roll with Hamlin, but both very good plays. Kipper says, so you like more Keselowski, Blaney, Elliott for GPPs? I would go with Elliott. Jeremy says, you could hear it in Chris's voice yesterday on his video that he was not happy. Eric Jones crushed my soul yesterday. I was not happy about it. So I might have sounded a little bit down in the video. Conch says, you were being very quiet on Blaney. See, I'm not that biased because Blaney's my favorite driver, but I just don't really like him that much today. He's fine in tournaments because, look, he's pretty much got the best car starting up front. Then we got a couple guys dropping to the back. Could contend for a top 5. He has won here before, but there's just a lot more PD with the guys priced around him. Let's see. Cole says, to get off the chalk, Jimmy or Boyer? I'll go Boyer, just because I think he's got better chance of finishing higher, even though Johnson has better PD upside, but I think Clem Boyer could potentially get a top 5 here. Ignacio says, do you think Logano can make it high enough to matter on the winning lineup? Oh, for sure. I think Joey's got one of the best chances to make the winning lineup today. He's going to be very high owned. 330 people watching. That's awesome. I do appreciate that. I think we need less than 100 subscribers to 5K, which I know that's not going to happen today, but maybe next week. That'd be cool. But, yeah, Logano, I think he's got one of the best chances to make the optimal lineup. King says, would you take Almirola's finish position upside over Reddick's PD upside in GPPs? And who is James Davison? James Davison is a new driver. He was never in the Cup Series, and he was going to make his first race attempt at Talladega, but NASCAR they pretty much said that wasn't safe to not have any practice before in the Cup Series and to go to Talladega. Didn't want him dying, so they said Pocono was going to be his first race, and I just saw that Dion and Glenn signed up on Patreon. I do appreciate that. But, yeah, Davison, he actually didn't look too bad. I mean, he finished 34th, and where is he at? Average running position of 33.7. It wasn't too bad. Price isn't that bad. But Almirola over Reddick. Reddick's safer. I'm going to have more Reddick today than Almirola, but Almirola has the higher finishing potential, I think. His car looked really good yesterday. Matthew says, LaJoy GPP dart. Yeah, that's fine. He's like one of the only guys down there that might be able to hold his position. Casey says, race starting at 420. What driver do you think makes the first 420 joke? I don't know. I don't know who would do that. Maybe one of the younger guys. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Giordano just signed up. Appreciate that. Giordano. Tony says, Bell, 17 is not the worst starting position for someone with an average finish of 4th, or is Almirola in a better car? Well, his average finish is 4th because he has one race here, and he finished 4th, which I don't think it's going to happen again. It could, but I think that's unlikely. I think he's going to gain spots. I think he contends for a top 12. Voice crack again, top 12, top 15. So Bell's okay. I'm going to have a little bit of Bell today, but nothing too spectacular. Jason says stay hydrated. I think I need to because my voice keeps cracking. Jeremy says, can you give out a cheap option? Nemechek, Half, a couple of like kind of guys like that. Like some of the only guys that could potentially gain some spots down there. Chris says, Jeremy, play Larson. He's cheap. Yeah, Larson's very cheap. Federico says McLeod or Bilicki. I think McLeod's starting 39th. Bilicki 32nd. I don't. McLeod's less likely to kill you starting 39th, but it's. I mean, they're both gross. I guess McLeod, but not really excited about either. William says, Busch, Nemechek, or Almirola Truex? Everyone's got that. I know exactly what lineup you're talking about, William. We have pretty much the same lineup there, and I went with the Almirola Truex side. Mike says, he's cheap. His cheap is John or Nemechek, but that's cheap chalk. Yeah, it is. Matthew says, would you fade Suarez? You could throw in like 5 to 10% Suarez, but he's got like a 28th place car, which is right where he's starting. And he's nearly 7K, so I'd rather spend up a little bit for Ty Dillon. Matthew says, Hamlin, Reddick, LaJoy, or Keselowski, Bowman, Half. I'll go with the first option there. Bourne says, huge wreck at Xfinity Series. Everyone's saying huge wreck. First lap. Yeah, there was a wreck on the Truck Series in the first lap, too. That's crazy. Hopefully that doesn't happen Actually, I guess I wouldn't mind if there was a big wreck on the Cup Series today if it was in the front, because then all of our back guys would move up very quickly. So I guess I wouldn't be against that unless the wreck happened in the back. But yeah, it's crazy. Brandon Jones wrecked lap 1. Was he popular in DFS today for the Xfinity Series? If so, I'm sorry, because I'm sure you guys probably played him. All right, let's see. Oops, went all the way down. 1 second. Okay, Andy says, rate this lineup, please. Since you said please, I will. Busch, Logano, Bowman, Reddick, Eric Jones, Nemechek. Yeah, it's fine. I like that. It's pretty good. Very good. Ivan says, what do you think about Ricky Stenhouse? Most likely going to lose spots, so not that excited about... I almost said Ivan. I was looking at your name. Not that excited about Ricky Stenhouse today. Conscious says, I may have been truth seeker years back, but I have watched your football for a few seasons. Surely starting to learn this betting on NASCAR. Always do base, foot, basketball. Okay, cool. I don't know if I remember that exact name, but appreciate you staying around for so long. Timothy says, beautiful day in Ohio. Is it? It's kind of cloudy last time I looked, but I've also been inside for a long time, so I'll take your word for it. Hopefully it's nice. What's the best way to pivot while sticking with the main core of usable drivers? I guess the pivots are up top because, look, like a lot of these guys are just not playable in this 5K to 6K range. I think the chalk's going to be Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin up top if you want to get different. Elliott and Busch, but the thing is they're going to have high ownership as well, so maybe go with a guy like Brad Keselowski or Ryan Blaney, but I'm not that confident in them. I think it's just a week you're going to have to realize you're going to tie with some people if up top. Max says 2v2, Harvick, John Hunter Nemechek, or Truex Almirola. Okay, everyone's going to have this lineup. I know when you guys ask me that Harvick / Busch and John Hunter Nemechek or Truex Almirola question, I know exactly what lineup you're talking about, and I'm going Truex Almirola, and I think it's going to be very popular today. Conch says Blaney will pass everyone in the first 5 laps if possible. I mean, he's had a fast car all season long. Max says, I ask a 2v2 for cash every week. Yeah, that's fine. I know exactly what lineup you're talking about, too. Joanne Wigley says, your user ID on DK is CPen 16. I have a Michael Brantley picture on there if you ever see me. It's Michael Brantley pointing at you. My favorite baseball player. But now, unfortunately, he left the Indians. Austin says, who was the highest ceiling for you today? I mean, it's pretty much like Logano, Eric Jones. I mean, their ceilings are insanely high, but you could also throw in Harvick with his, race-winning potential, all that. But the highest projected, it's like Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, those kind of guys. Dr. Fake says he's going to dominate early. Also, is Clint Boyer play? Blaney could dominate early. Would not surprise me. He'd have to get it past Kurt Busch, I think, but it's certainly possible. Is Clint Boyer play? Clint Boyer is fine in tournaments. He's starting 14th. He's got top 5 potential, so he's fine. Kid Bray says Boyer or Bell for GVPs? Thanks. Ooh, that's a good question. The one I haven't got yet. I think Boyer's more likely to finish above Bell. I know that did not happen last race, but I mean, Clint Boyer's in Stewart Haas equipment. Fords have been so fast. I'll start with Boyer. Plus, I think he'll be a little bit less owned. Cap City says Kurt Busch could be a sleeper. He could be a sleeper. I think he's going to be 10 to 15% owned, somewhere around there. I think people think he might dominate early on, which I think is definitely possible, so I wouldn't mind sprinkling him in. Nicholas says, do you think Ricky Stenhouse or Kurt Busch could quickly get the lead from Priest and lead the first 30 laps? Okay, so you probably missed early on. Priest is dropping to the rear, so that puts Kurt Busch on the front row. So I actually think Kurt Busch is going to lead laps early on. It would not surprise me if he led the first 30 laps. FE says Blaney wins stage 1. Certainly possible. Braden says Elliott or Jones. Big price difference, so I'd probably have to get a 2v2 there, but value-wise, I'll take Jones, just value-wise. And I think Jones could actually probably outscore Chase Elliott as well at a cheaper price point. Danny says, do you like LaJoie at all today? He's okay. He's actually one of the better options down here. He's starting 23rd. He's less likely to lose spots than McDowell. He's obviously a much better play than Priest. LaJoie's okay. He's probably going to finish around 25th, but it's not the worst in the world. Giordano says Harvick and Hamlin in the same lineup. Yeah, you can do that for sure. Don't mind that. Dr. Fake says, what is your best 8K play on FanDuel? DiBenedetto, Bell, or Reddick? Or maybe all 3. Well, if I had to pick one, I'm going to go Reddick there. I mean, I don't know too much about the FanDuel pricing or scoring, but Reddick seems like the best play there, starting 30th. Robert says, does Truex finish ahead of Keselowski? That's a good question. I think the JGR cars are going to benefit from having that practice yesterday. I think Truex can finish ahead of Keselowski. So I will say yes. Travis says, how do you feel about Buescher for GPPs? He's fine. What is he, 6,400, starting 11th? He can contend for a top 15. He ran really well yesterday, so he's fine. I mean, he's had decent track history here at Pocono. I mean, the past 6 races, 4 top 20s, 2 top 15s. He's got a shot. Bourne says 2 wrecks on first 5 laps of Xfinity. My gosh, is everyone wrecking today? Let's see. Cody says, do you think Draftkings will ever get in on stage points and awarding points drivers for their stage finish? If they do, that is going to make a nice twist to Draftkings scoring. That'd make it a little bit more complex. So, I mean, it'd be kind of fun to see. Maybe we could try it out. Maybe make it a different slate one, see how it goes. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they won't, but Dr. Fake says another wreck. Yeah. Danny says Logano takes dabs before the race. As long as it helps him race, I don't care what he does beforehand. All right, let's see. It went all the way down. 1 second again. It's going to have to go all the way up. Dave says Bell excels at flat tracks. Reminds me of Larson. I mean, Bell absolutely crushed it yesterday. He proved me wrong there. I will admit that. Did not think he was going to finish 4th. I thought he was probably going to finish 15th around there, which I didn't think was going to be enough at 11,100, but he finished 4th. So, yeah, he crushed that. I think he's probably going to finish anywhere from 10th to 15th today. But he's also 8,800, so it's not too bad. Frank says, Almirola or Tyler Reddick or Bell for my last spot with Logano, Jones, Bowman, Nemechek. What do you think of my lineup? Oh, I think Tyler Reddick's the safest option there because he's starting 30th, and I think your lineup is pretty good. Let's see. Garrett says, Rowdy will win today. I can see that happening. I mean, I think, again, I keep saying it, but I think he is going to benefit from having that race yesterday. He's going to dial that car in. Chuck says, any shifts in strategy after yesterday's results? Well, the strategy on Saturday was pretty much just stacking up the front because we had Hamlin, Kyle Busch. Truex wasn't really in the front, but Harvick. I mean, they were all a little bit underpriced besides Harvick. Today, they're pretty expensive, but all the good drivers are now in the back instead of the front. So we're kind of just playing this as a place differential race instead of finishing position, which they're going to finish high anyway, more unless they wreck. But pretty much a place differential day. Cameron says Hamlin excels at flat track. Spells look good though. Yeah, Hamlin is just he's a flat track master. The guy just absolutely crushes these. So do like Hamlin quite a bit. He was second in average green flag speed yesterday. Tony says, how does the scoring besides place diff, laps led, fast laps, and winning? If a driver starts 20th, finishes 20th, what points does he get? So I have a heat map on my spreadsheet, so I don't know exactly what is the top of my head, but it wouldn't be that excellent. I'm sorry, I don't know every finishing position points off the top of my head, but I feel like I think he'd be like 20 or 30 something. Probably around 20. I think it'd be a little bit higher than 20, but I don't know off the top of my head. FE says, won't be any cars left if the Xfinity guys keep wrecking. Certainly possible. Bourne says, beautiful day in Pennsylvania, 10% chance of rain. I will take that. I mean, NASCAR, there's been rain in the forecast pretty much every single time, but they have been getting decently lucky of the rain avoiding them long enough to get a race in. Timothy says, what do you think about running Harvick and Hamlin together? No problems at all with that. I have no issues. Matthew says, Hamlin, LaJoy, or Bowman, Almirola. I'll go with the second option there. King says Hamlin at 19 or Harvick at 20 in GPPs. Harvick's starting one spot further back. He just won the race yesterday. I would take Harvick. Both are really good plays, though. But I would play Harvick just because you get the one spot further back. He looked amazing yesterday. So, Matthew says, I already answered that. Bodie says, I figured out the nuts lineup. Is that the one everyone's asking me about the Truex Almirola thing? Because, I mean, I think everyone's playing that lineup today. DJ says, is Suarez good for cash today? No, he is not good for cash today. Jimmy Johnson, low-owned asks kicks. He should be low-owned. I can't see him being above 15%. So, and compared to everybody else on the slate, 15% is like really low. Chuck says, Priest still scored from 1. Yes, he is still scored from 1. If he was not scored from 1, he'd be the best play on the slate. But Well, not the best play in the slate, but he'd be the best cheap option. But no, he's still being scored from first, and it's going to be a rough day for Priest. Scott says Hamlin or Kyle Busch. I like Hamlin just a little bit better because he gives you a little bit more salary relief. 800 salary left, and he's starting 19th compared to 16th. But I will go with Denny Hamlin there just because of the price. Baldy says Buescher is good at Pocono. He sure is. He's actually been pretty solid here. Mike says Buescher or McDowell. That's a really good question. So it's about $1,000 difference. Could you give me a 2v2? I think a 2v2 would be better for that. Jarrell says Logano was a dad before the game with those legs. Mike says I've heard some talking about maybe doing captains to avoid high ties. I don't like it. I hope not. I'd hope that'd be a different slate because I do not want to play a captain mode with NASCAR at all. Do not want to do that. I like how it is right now. Dr. Fake says Bubba Wallace a plate where it fade. So Bubba's probably going to finish right around where he starts. He's 7,300. I mean, he's sandwiched right in between the best plays on the slate, Almirola, Jones, and Reddick. So not really on Bubba Wallace. I don't see the reason I want to play 4 of these guys in that 7K range. But if you want to get different, you could play Bubba, but he's pretty much maxed out at 22nd there, for being honest. Mike says his cat all over the keyboard. Oops. King says, come on, fellas, get this video 200 likes. He earned an answer on all these questions. I appreciate that. 313 people watching still. 178. 1 dislike. It's not very nice. It happens, though. All right. Kier says, Half potential for a top 35. Yeah, I mean, his average finish this season, I think, is 32nd, so he should be able to get it. He should be able to crack the top 35. Jeremiah says, got to remember the plays you think are the best never win first place. Sometimes the chalk absolutely just is the nuts. Like, I remember one slate, I think it was Charlotte, Chase Elliott, Truex, Bowman were just the chalk of all chalk, and then the other guys were all chalk, and chalk absolutely crushed that slate. I think I tied for second or first. So sometimes the chalk is just the nuts, sometimes the chalk bust. I mean, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. Let's see. Frank says Almirola or Bell. I would go with Almirola. Mr. Superman says Kevin went off pit stops. Yes, but he was also 4th in average green flag speed, so it's not like he didn't have a good car yesterday. He's always been good at Pocono. But let's see. Matthew says thoughts on Nemechek. Nemechek is like my favorite guy in that low 6K range, or just all of the 6K range, just because he's starting 24th compared to 5th, 11th, 6th, and 2nd. So he's like the safest guy down there, and he's had multiple top 20s so far this season. RB1 says, can someone explain 2v2? So a 2v2 is like, so if you ask me someone like Bowman versus Nemechek, I just can't really answer that because there's such a big price difference. So you'd have to give me like another driver and who you'd be replacing with each one. So if that makes any sense. All right, I'm catching up to the end of the chat, so I don't think we're going to be too longer. We've been over an hour so far. So, all right, let's see. Bell or Almirola for best PDF side. I'll go with Almirola. He's starting 1 farts further back. And Almirola was great yesterday. And he's cheaper, too. Almirola or Reddick in GBPs. I'll go with Reddick just because he's starting 30th. Roscoe says Ricky Bobby should make an appearance. Maybe. Truex Almirola is the chalk lineup. Yeah, Cameron and I totally agree. Joe says if Half does not produce the wreck, he may stay on the lead lap. It's possible. It is possible. Boldy says 100% Eric Jones and Logano. I am ready to be hurt again. Well, okay. Just know I said to not go 100% on anyone, so I'm going to be very high on them, but not 100%. But if, in all likeliness, it will work out, but there's always that chance something happens to them. Drew says 3 of his 6 in Xfinity are out already. The race just started. I feel pretty bad for you. That's awful. Let's see. Hit the like button says Born. I agree. James says how many laps in each stage. I know there's 30 in the first one. But I don't remember off the top of my head how many are in the second or third. It's obviously longer than 30 though. 140 laps today compared to 130 yesterday. So just a little bit more Dominator points, but Dominator points are still not as important. Drew says hopefully the Cup guys don't crash as often as these Chuck and Xfinity guys. Yeah, that would suck. That would absolutely suck. At least they're laying the rubber down right now. But I think that's it. I caught up to the chat, which I don't usually catch up to the chat. So we put in some work today in the live stream. I'll answer one more question or two. Dave says Jones or Harvick in GPPs. Well, again, that's one of those questions I need 2v2 because there's a big price difference. I think Jones is the best value play on the slate, but I like both, so maybe a 2v2 there. RB says, guys, hit the likes. Do appreciate. Did we make 200? I'm about to end this, so we'll see if we made 200, but 190, we're close. Well, we got a dislike, 2 dislikes, so we'll count it as 192. They all count the same. Mike says, Buescher or McDowell? If that's where I'm stuck, please help. I don't have a 2v2. Oh, gosh. Buescher or McDowell? You know what? Buescher's... I think he finishes higher than McDowell. So I'll go with Buescher. I don't love either, but I'll go Buescher. Bourne says, would you play Eric Jones if he was 10K starting where he is? I would. We got the 200? It was just 190 like a second ago. 198, I'm sure we'll get there. All right, but yeah, I would play Eric Jones if he was 10K, if we're being honest. We saw Christopher Bell at 11,100 pay off his price tag starting 36, so it's possible. And Eric Jones is obviously just an absolute monster here. So, Go Luckman says, who's the best value? Technically, Eric Jones is 7,400, but if you mean like a cheap driver, it's pretty much Nemechek or Half back there. But anyway, guys, I guess we hit 200. I do appreciate everyone that did like the video and everyone that did tune in, and we got to over 300 viewers, which is awesome. Enjoy the Xfinity race. If you are playing that, I am going to get to work on building lineups. I got 150 to make, so we'll see what comes up. But I wish you guys the best of luck. Do not go 100% on any driver because things happen like yesterday with Eric Jones, and that's going to be it. I do appreciate everyone stopping by, and we will see you next video for 4th of July weekend at Indy, right? So yeah. All right, I will see you guys. Whoops, that's not the right tab. All right, I'll see you guys. Appreciate everyone stopping by, and best of luck.